Welcome to Win Souls TV. This is Bart Evangelist, and I got another one for y'all today. Today we are putting on the belt of truth. Now, if you stumbled across this video simply because you want to learn more about God, go ahead and check out more of the videos, and hopefully he leads you through possibly deliverance, or maybe through some type of deliverance through addiction or whatever the Lord leads you to. I just hope that he blesses you with these videos. Now let's jump right into it. So, with the belt of truth, one of the ways that Satan tries to attack us, not only, so of course it is the belt of truth. So Satan not only tries to attack us with lies, but now, see, check this out. He goes about it in a different way concerning the belt of truth. So before, it was just blatant lies on our identity. And so we have the so we have the helmet of salvation for that, right? To guard against and specifically move out of our divine purpose and our divine identity. The person that the Lord tells us we are, versus the person that Satan tells us we are through other people, or literally talking to our spirit directly. Now, one of the ways that Satan tries to attack us concerning truth in other areas are literally taking specific things that the Lord has told us not to do, dressing it up, and then making it seem like it is something else. And a perfect example of that is in the Word in the Garden of Eden. Satan came as a serpent, but not only did he talk to Eve as a ploy on her identity, telling her that she would be God, and that Satan was, and that God was, it wasn't the truth about what he was talking about concerning that we would surely die. He said, no, you won't surely die. Your eyes will be open and you will be like gods, not already understanding that they already were. You see what I'm saying? So what he did was, he dressed that fruit up to not only look good, smell good, feel good in your hands, but he dressed it up to make it seem as if it was something more than it was. And so by that, she literally turned her focus away from what God had told her and followed exactly what Satan wanted her to do. And with that leads to a life of confusion, that in some ways that leads to the Lord may have to correct you, reprove you in some way, shape, or form, because you are his child, and he will lead you in the way that you should go. So with that said, let's venture a little bit more in terms of how that is going to affect us. So how does what happened at the Garden of Eden even relate to us in our modern day of society? Well, let's think about it. We live in a world that tells us, hey, as long as I'm doing all of these specific things in the church building, because we are the church, but as long as I'm doing these specific things for, church services, as long as I'm actually going to church, guess what? I don't need to have a personal relationship with the Lord. Or as long as I'm pushing for levels of success concerning my own business, or concerning my own YouTube channel, or concerning my own anything in life, as long as I'm pushing toward my own success, then it's okay, because I don't necessarily need relationships with people. Or as long as I, find a pretty girl, her character doesn't have to count for anything. Or as long as I find, a big house, a nice car, have a puppy, and I'm making a lot of money, my character and my relationships with people don't really matter very much to me. It's all about me personally and the successes that I've gone through. And that is the same level of what Satan was doing in the Garden of Eden. He was literally taking the very things that the Lord has told us to do in his truths, in his word, the very things that matter the most, and he was telling us otherwise. But not only that, now he doesn't only use words to shape, he doesn't only use words to shape and make those things look very glamorous to us, but now he's using imagery through television. He uses people in sports. He uses celebrities on commercials. I mean, he even uses, people in the news. All of these specific things, right? So with that, a lot of us admire those specific types of people. And if they're doing those things, then guess what? A lot of the times we'll follow suit. So with that, but those are the very things that the Lord doesn't want us to fall into. Yes, it's okay to have specific levels of success, but not at the compromise of family. It's okay to have a pretty wife or a pretty girlfriend or, these specific things. That's not what I'm saying, but not at the compromise of her own character. And if that character is leading you away from God in the first place. If the only reason that you are with her is because of her looks and not her character and her relationship with the Lord and how she can come together with you, and you guys as a whole can be a full relationship and a full expression of who the Lord is himself, then you got some thinking to do. So with that said, this is how Satan is working in our atmosphere today. Literally tainting our minds to move out of things that are exactly opposite to what the Lord wants us to do. The Lord puts a lot of emphasis on family. But before I venture into that, let me first talk about a little bit of manipulation. And I'm gonna put myself out there a little bit, simply because I just feel like a lot of us as ministers and pastors don't necessarily share a lot of where we have come from, because everybody has a past. And I know that if the Lord can use my vulnerability to help someone along the way, then I don't care what you think of me. So with that said, I lived a very promiscuous lifestyle, and to live that lifestyle, you have to move out of manipulation, and you have to move out of, or at least I did. You have to move out of a lot of lies. In some cases. So with that said, I remember there was specific imagery, and this imagery could have literally come from Satan. And I remember I would talk to my brother about these specific things when I was wholeheartedly living in the world. And it was almost as if when I would talk to him about these things, I would tell him things like, I'm leading her down this path, down this path, down this path, down this path, down this path. Now, while I'm moving down this path or this sidewalk or this street per se, this person that I'm leading, there's nothing more than just a shroud of clouds, nothing more than just a mist, and the person can't necessarily see what's in front of them. This is the imagery that I'm telling him with my own mouth. The person can't necessarily see what's in front of them, right? And so with that, they are looking for someone to help them. But the very person that they are using to help them is actually leading them down that path or that shroud of confusion. Because the deeper that you lead someone down confusion, the more that they are willing to latch on to someone to help them. And if it is that Satan is using these celebrities, Satan is using specific facets of media to lead us down a specific direction, whether that is success, whether that is having nice cars, this, that, and the other, then we're literally looking to him to lead us without knowing where we're being led. Now, those paths, don't get me wrong, those paths aren't necessarily entirely bad. But what I'm saying is, while you're walking down that path, you are literally being pulled away from God's direction for you. And every second, every minute, every hour of every day that you waste moving down those specific paths is an hour, a minute, a day that you could be spending moving out of the power and the glory of God. And that is exactly what he wants us to do. Satan wants to waste our time here. Satan wants to waste our time here. And so how in the world do we defend against that? Let's put on that belt of truth, and let's literally take a vacuum cleaner, a spiritual vacuum cleaner, and get all of that mist off of our path, and let's move down the straight and narrow, baby. And I'm going to show you how. And this is how you do it. And simply put, this is going to sound so generic. You might just turn off the YouTube. You might just turn off YouTube altogether right after I say this, but it is the truth. Literally, read the word and follow what it says. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. No way. I thought you were going to give us some good stuff, Jeff. This word is filled with truths. Why? Because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. Truth is a being. So when you develop that truth, when you develop that relationship with the truth, not just going to church and then lollygagging around, just, oh, guess what? I'm leading a spiritual group. I'm leading this. I'm leading that. But guess what? You don't even have a personal relationship with the Lord. I'm not judging anybody. But that's not the way that we need to be moving. We don't need to be moving down a path of our own self-glory. The glory goes to God. The glory, all the glory, the honor, and the praise goes to the Lord. So we must develop a relationship with him and humble ourselves before him and give him all the credit. So we read the word. We read the word. And if you don't know how to study the word, I got a card for you. It's right up here. And you guys check that out. Study the word. Now, when you study the word, you'll understand that these specific truths, if you move out of them, it creates that atmosphere for the Lord to come in and literally just sweep everything clean. You will be sweeping other people's lives clean just by you moving out of the truth. And people won't like that. They won't like it. They won't like it. But that's the way that we are to move. So here, check this out. In Ephesians 6:14, the word tells us to stand firm then with the belt of truth buckled around our waist. What does it mean to stand firm? To stand firm means that in the midst of all of this stuff going on in the world, you will stand true to the one, the only, the almighty, all-knowing, all-powerful God. Regardless of whichever way this world goes, regardless of wherever that ship sails, doesn't matter. You are going to stand firmly planted and rooted in the word of God and what it says. The word also tells us in John 8, when Jesus was telling his early followers that if we actually put our truths into practice, not only will they be truths for other people, now I'm paraphrasing here, but also the truth shall set us and them free. So let's move on a little bit further. There is a family model that the Lord would like to teach us, because since Satan is doing such a very good job at breaking away families, especially the men of the family, which literally destroys the entire model that he has set for a family, then we have to venture into that, because this is where our belt of truth, and then also it is training our kids up to move out of that way of righteousness, of salvation, of truth, of peace, of faith, and of course, reading the word, the sword of the Spirit. And so let's venture in a little bit deeper. Now, the family model. So we got the man as the head of the household, the wife, the kids. Okay. Now, a lot of families. Now, here's the secular way of looking at it. Secular way of looking at a family is just like, okay, well, man, if the man is the head of the household and the wife and the man are not on an equal plane, then guess what? Then he just gets to have his way. He gets to do whatever he wants to do and however he wants to do it. And you mean to tell me I got to submit to him and I got to do this? First of all, you're to submit anyway. I'm talking to the ladies. Secondly, if he is moving the way that the Lord would like him to move, and his relationship is tight knit with the Lord, first of all, you wouldn't have any trouble submitting. And then two, the place that he is coming from is not for his own personal gain. It's not for his own personal gain. It is for the glory and the honor of God. It is for the glory and the honor of God. And so him moving out of that love and that responsibility to his family brings glory to God. But not only that, it sets the atmosphere for the Lord to move in and sweep everything clean and to raise up the kids, and then to also have his wife as his helpmeet. Creating that model for kids to see as God as the Godhead, Jesus as the Godhead, and then the Father as the expression of what God is on earth. That is the model. And these are specific verses that are to set the household straight. Because through the household, then the entire family can go out and not being shrouded by things of deceit, not going down that cloud that is not going down that path that is misty. So let's talk about these verses. Ephesians 5:22, 6 through 9. Then we have Colossians 3:18 through 4:1. Then we have 1 Timothy 2:8 through 15. And then 1 Timothy 6:1 through 10. And then Titus 2:1 through 15. And 1 Peter 2:18 through 3:7. Now these verses will equip you with everything that you need in order to develop your family the way that it needs to be, in terms of the way that the Bible would like the family to be set. Once the family is set, now we can go out and be walking examples of what the Lord would have for us to do, not only, but walking examples of love, and then walking examples of full expressions of truth. I hope this has been a blessing to you guys. You be blessed. Have a good one.